Success is never a quiet journey. The moment you start making progress, achieving milestones, or stepping into the light, people begin to take notice. At first it might seem like admiration. People recognize your efforts, appreciate your hard work, and even cheer for you. But as you climb higher, the scrutiny intensifies. Every move you make, every decision you take, and even things as trivial as what you wear or how you speak, become subjects of discussion. It's a pattern that has existed throughout history. Success always invites scrutiny, and if you're not prepared to handle it, you might find yourself second-guessing your choices. When someone achieves something significant, it often triggers a mix of emotions in those watching. Some people feel inspired, motivated to push themselves harder. Others, however, feel threatened. They look for ways to diminish the success of others, sometimes out of jealousy, sometimes out of their own insecurities. They search for flaws, for reasons to critique, for ways to shift the focus away from what has been achieved to what they perceive as a weakness. And in many cases, the criticism isn't even about the person's actual accomplishments, it's about things that have no real bearing on their success. History is full of examples where high achievers have faced intense scrutiny. Take any world leader, business tycoon, or cultural icon, and you'll find a common thread. The more they succeeded, the more people found reasons to judge them. Their decisions, their personal lives, even their fashion choices became topics of public debate. Why? Because when someone rises above the ordinary, they stand out. And when they stand out, they become an easy target for those who would rather criticize than celebrate. Many people assume that if they do good work, if they stay true to their path, the world will simply acknowledge their efforts and leave them alone. But that's rarely the case. Success puts you in the spotlight, and the brighter that light shines, the more shadows it casts. Every great entrepreneur, artist, athlete, or leader has had to deal with public scrutiny at some point in their journey. Some have been criticized for the way they run their businesses, others for the way they speak or look. But those who truly succeed understand one thing: they cannot let external noise dictate their internal drive. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to please everyone. When someone criticizes your choices, your immediate reaction might be to adjust, to explain yourself, to seek validation. But the truth is, no matter what you do, there will always be people who find something to say. If you wear something bold, they'll call it inappropriate. If you wear something simple, they'll call it uninspired. If you take a strong stance, they'll call you arrogant. If you remain neutral, they'll say you lack conviction. It's an endless cycle, and the only way to win is to refuse to play. The people who achieve the most in life are not the ones who waste time addressing every criticism. They are the ones who stay locked in on their goals, who understand that scrutiny is a sign that they are making an impact. When people talk about you, it means you're doing something that cannot be ignored. That's not a weakness, it's a sign of influence. The key is to develop the mindset that allows you to filter out the distractions and focus on what truly matters. There's a reason why so many of the world's most successful individuals talk about the importance of resilience. It's not just about working hard or being talented. It's about developing the mental toughness to withstand public scrutiny without letting it derail your progress. Imagine if every successful person let criticism stop them. Imagine if they decided that the pressure was too much, that the judgment was too heavy. The world would have been robbed of some of its greatest innovators, artists, and leaders. Success invites scrutiny because it forces people to confront their own limitations. When they see someone breaking barriers, achieving greatness, or refusing to conform, it challenges their worldview. Some people take inspiration from this and push themselves to be better. Others, however, react with negativity because it reminds them of what they haven't done. Their criticism is often more about themselves than the person they are judging. But if you don't recognize this, you might internalize their words and start believing that you need to change, that you need to shrink yourself to avoid standing out. That's the biggest mistake you can make. It's important to remember that the people who criticize the loudest are often the ones who have done the least. Those who have truly accomplished something in life don't spend their time tearing others down. They are too busy building their own legacies. They understand the weight of ambition, the sacrifices required to reach the top, and the courage it takes to stand tall despite the backlash. That's why they don't waste energy trying to bring others down. When you start succeeding, you need to ask yourself a simple question. Are you going to focus on your progress, or are you going to be distracted by the opinions of those who have never walked your path? If you let every comment, every piece of unsolicited advice, every negative remark get to you, you will never move forward. You will spend more time responding to critics than actually building something meaningful. That's not how greatness is achieved. One of the biggest lessons in handling scrutiny is learning to separate constructive criticism from pointless negativity. There will always be people whose opinions come from a place of genuine insight, from experience, from a desire to help. Those are the voices worth listening to. But there will also be those who speak out of bitterness, out of frustration with their own lack of progress. Their words are not meant to help, they are meant to distract, and it is your job to know the difference. There is immense power in being able to stand firm in your choices despite external noise. When you truly believe in what you're doing, when you know you are on the right path, criticism becomes background noise. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, to seek approval. Instead, you keep moving forward, letting your work speak for itself. That is what separates those who succeed from those who simply watch from the sidelines. Success comes with a price, and part of that price is dealing with scrutiny. But if you see it for what it truly is, a reflection of your impact, you will understand that it is not something to be feared, it is something to be embraced. Because at the end of the day, no one criticizes those who don't matter. If people are talking about you, if they have something to say about what you're doing, it means you are making waves. And that is the ultimate sign that you are on the right track. People have a natural tendency to judge what they don't understand. It happens every day, in every society, and in every industry. The moment someone does something different, something unconventional, or something outside the norm, people feel the need to analyze it, question it, and sometimes even criticize it. This isn't because the action itself is wrong, it's because unfamiliarity makes people uncomfortable. They prefer what is predictable, what fits into their pre-existing beliefs, and when something challenges that, their immediate reaction is often judgment rather than curiosity. Throughout history, every breakthrough idea, every major shift in culture, and every act of innovation has faced resistance. When the first automobiles were introduced, people mocked them, believing they would never replace horses. When pioneers in technology created the first computers, many dismissed them as unnecessary. When individuals choose to step out of traditional roles or break stereotypes, they are often met with skepticism or outright criticism. The reason is simple. People are wired to resist change, and anything they don't immediately understand feels like a threat to their worldview. This pattern isn't limited to big innovations or groundbreaking ideas. It happens on a personal level as well. When someone takes an unexpected career path, others might say it's unrealistic. When someone expresses themselves in a way that doesn't fit societal expectations, they are labeled as different. Even small choices, how a person dresses, speaks, or carries themselves, can become a subject of scrutiny. People form opinions quickly, often without taking the time to understand the reasons behind someone's actions. One of the biggest reasons people judge what they don't understand is because it forces them to confront their own limitations. When they see someone doing something bold, something outside of their comfort zone, it serves as a mirror. It makes them question whether they have been too cautious, too afraid to take risks, or too confined by societal expectations. Instead of facing these internal doubts, many people choose the easier route. They criticize the person who is breaking the mold. By doing so, they protect their own sense of security, convincing themselves that staying within familiar boundaries is the right choice. Another reason people react this way is because they rely on patterns to make sense of the world. When something doesn't fit into an established pattern, it creates discomfort. This is why people often cling to stereotypes or preconceived notions. It's easier to categorize things into simple labels rather than accept that the world is complex and that individuals are unique. Instead of trying to understand why someone made a certain choice, they default to judgment because it requires less effort. Social influence also plays a role. People tend to adopt the opinions of those around them without questioning whether those opinions are valid. If a group collectively criticizes something, individuals within that group are likely to follow along, even if they haven't taken the time to form their own perspective. This is why trends in judgment and criticism often spread so quickly, because people are more concerned with fitting in than with understanding the full picture. Fear is another driving force behind judgment. When people encounter something they don't understand, they may subconsciously see it as a challenge to their beliefs or way of life. This fear manifests as resistance, and resistance often takes the form of judgment. Instead of being open to new perspectives, people build mental barriers, convincing themselves that their way of thinking is the only correct way. They dismiss new ideas, reject different perspectives, and sometimes even attack those who introduce change. The reality is that most judgment is not based on logic or understanding. It is based on emotion. It stems from fear, insecurity, and the need for control. People want the world to be predictable, and when something disrupts that predictability, they react instinctively. But the truth is, real progress, real success, and real individuality come from embracing the unknown, from stepping beyond what is understood, and from having the courage to be different despite the judgment of others. Your value isn't defined by opinions or appearances. It's easy to get caught up in what people say about you, how they perceive you, and the labels they assign. Society places a heavy emphasis on external validation, making it seem like worth is determined by the approval of others. People are judged by their looks, their status, their possessions, and even the way they present themselves. But none of these things define who a person truly is. The labor of love bears the fruits of your labor. The world might try to measure worth through superficial means, but real value is something deeper, something that exists regardless of what anyone thinks. From a young age, people are conditioned to seek approval. In school, grades determine intelligence. In social circles, popularity determines acceptance. In the workplace, titles determine success. These external markers create the illusion that worth is something that can be measured, something that fluctuates based on how others perceive you. But this is a flawed way of thinking. A person's value is not something that can be given or taken away by society. It is not determined by achievements, appearance, or recognition. It exists simply because they exist. The problem with basing self-worth on external validation is that opinions change constantly. What is admired today might be criticized tomorrow. A person who is celebrated in one moment might face backlash in the next. If worth is tied to how others see you, then it becomes unstable, shifting based on trends, expectations, and the unpredictable nature of public perception. The truth is, no matter how much effort is put into pleasing others, there will always be someone who disapproves, someone who finds fault, someone who believes they have the right to judge. Appearances are another deceptive measure of worth. Society places a high value on physical presentation, often making people feel like they need to look a certain way to be respected, appreciated, or taken seriously. But looks do not define capability, intelligence, or character. People who achieve great things do so because of their actions, their mindset, and their resilience, not because of how they dress or how they appear to the world. Some of the most influential figures in history were not the best dressed, the most conventionally attractive, or the most polished in their presentation. They were impactful because of what they did, not because of how they looked while doing it. One of the biggest mistakes a person can make is believing that they need to prove their worth to others. This mindset leads to constant comparison, chasing validation, and losing sight of what actually matters. True confidence comes from understanding that worth is inherent. It does not need to be earned through approval, status, or appearance. The people who make the greatest impact are the ones who recognize this truth. They do not waste time worrying about judgment. They do not seek permission to be themselves. They focus on what they can control, their actions, their mindset, and their purpose. It's easy to get distracted by the opinions of others, especially in a world where judgment is loud and constant. But opinions are just that, opinions. They are not facts. They are not truths. They are simply perspectives shaped by individual experiences, biases, and expectations. No single opinion has the power to define someone's value unless that power is given to it. The only thing that truly defines worth is a person's character, their integrity, and their ability to stay true to themselves despite external noise. Every great leader has faced backlash at some point in their journey. It is almost a universal law of success. If you are doing something significant, if you are making an impact, if you are stepping outside of what is considered normal, people will have something to say. The moment someone decides to break boundaries, challenge the status quo, or pursue a vision that others cannot yet see, criticism becomes inevitable. It is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of progress. People are resistant to change, and leaders, by definition, are the ones who bring change. They introduce new ideas, build new systems, and disrupt old ways of thinking. This makes many people uncomfortable. It forces them to question their beliefs, adapt to new realities, and confront the fact that the world is evolving. Instead of embracing this, many choose to fight it. They criticize, resist, and try to tear down those who are leading the way. This is why every person who has ever done something meaningful has had to deal with backlash. Look at history and you will see countless examples of leaders facing resistance. Inventors, scientists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries have all been met with skepticism, doubt, and even hostility. When Thomas Edison was working on the light bulb, people told him it was a waste of time. When the Wright brothers were developing the first airplane, the idea of human flight was considered ridiculous. When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, critics dismissed it as unnecessary. Yet, in each of these cases, the backlash did not stop progress. It was simply part of the process. The reason backlash happens is not always because people truly believe something is wrong. Sometimes it is because they fear what they do not understand. When a leader takes a step forward, it forces others to reevaluate their own position. It makes them ask themselves why they did not see the same opportunity, why they did not take action, and why they are not the ones leading the change. This realization can be uncomfortable, and instead of using it as motivation, some people choose to respond with negativity. They criticize because it is easier than admitting that they could have done something similar but did not. Leaders who succeed despite backlash are the ones who understand that it is not personal. It is not about them. It is about the fears, insecurities, and resistance of others. The moment a leader starts taking criticism personally, they lose focus. They begin to question themselves, doubt their vision, and hesitate in their actions. But the greatest leaders do not allow this to happen. They recognize backlash as a natural reaction to progress, and instead of letting it slow them down, they use it as confirmation that they are on the right track. Backlash can come in many forms. Sometimes it is direct criticism, people telling a leader they are wrong, that their ideas will never work, that they should give up. Other times it is more subtle. It can come in the form of skepticism, where people dismiss an idea without fully considering its potential. It can come in the form of silence, where those who once showed support suddenly become distant. It can even come from within, as self-doubt creeps in when the pressure becomes too much. Regardless of the form it takes, the impact is the same. It tests the leader's resilience. Resilience is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. The leaders who make history are not the ones who never face challenges. They are the ones who refuse to let those challenges stop them. They did not waste time trying to convince their critics. They did not slow down to address every negative opinion. They stayed focused on their mission, knowing that the only real measure of success is the impact they create, not the approval they receive. Criticism is often a sign that something important is happening. If no one is talking, if no one is questioning, if no one is resisting, it usually means nothing significant is being done. Silence is not a sign of success. It is a sign of irrelevance. The most powerful leaders understand that backlash is not a signal to stop, but a signal to push forward. It means people are paying attention. It means change is happening. It means the work is making a difference. One of the biggest mistakes a leader can make is trying to please everyone. The truth is, no matter how valuable or well-intentioned something is, there will always be those who disagree. There will always be those who find something to criticize, those who resist change simply because it is different from what they are used to. A leader who tries to win over every critic will end up losing sight of their vision. The most effective leaders do not seek universal approval. They seek results. They stay committed to their purpose, knowing that true success is not measured by how many people agree with them, but by how much of an impact they create. Backlash often comes from those who feel threatened. When someone introduces something new, it disrupts existing structures. It changes the way things have always been done, and that can be unsettling for those who have benefited from the old system. This is why industry leaders sometimes resist new competitors. It is why traditional businesses fight against innovation. It is why established figures in any field often criticize emerging talent. They see change as a threat to their position, and instead of adapting, they push back. But history has shown that resisting change does not stop it. Those who cling to the past are eventually left behind, while those who embrace progress move forward. The most successful leaders are the ones who learn to filter the noise. They understand the difference between constructive feedback and pointless negativity. They listen to insights that help them improve, but they do not waste energy on baseless criticism. They do not let the fear of backlash hold them back, because they know that the only way to truly avoid criticism is to do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. And that is not an option for those who are meant to lead. The ability to withstand backlash is not just a skill, it is a necessity. No leader has ever built something great without facing resistance. No innovator has ever changed the world without being questioned. No visionary has ever been fully understood in the moment. The greatest achievements in history have all come from individuals who refused to be discouraged by opposition. They knew that backlash was not a sign of failure, but a sign of forward motion.